My name is Lemn Sissay. I'm a poet. I was born in Wigan, became known in Manchester, and I live in London. Tonight I'm in Addis Ababa, Ethiopia, and it's good to be home.
My home is my wife. When I'm with her, I feel like home.
It's the place where you feel safe, comfortable to do anything.
My home is in Addis Ababa, that is in Tigray region. That's a wonderful place to live.
A home is a place where I can have fun and I can do whatever I want with my family members.
If where I lay my hat is where my home is, and if my home is where my heart is, well, I left my hat on the plane on the way, and my heart is where the party is. I am half at home in all of you, and all at home in half of you. I'm all at home in all I do, and all of me is all of you. My name, Lemn Sissay, is an anagram of less is many and many is less. If my book sales are few, I can say it was professed. Things are never as simple as they seem. What was a flower became a bean. What was a bean became dust. The dust became liquid, became us. Coffee, the roast smoke from within, the shape of eyes, the make of skin, the push of lips, the cheek of bones. This must be me. Is this home? If where I lay my hat is where my home is, and if my home is where my heart is, well, I left my hat on the plane on the way, and my heart is where the start is. If home is, so good, if home is so natural to us all, second nature, how come I've spent my entire life searching for it, leaving it, finding it again and leaving it again and falling out with it, home, falling into it, home, losing it, getting it, buying it and selling it, or realizing that it, home, is not it after all? So my question is like this. Is this my home? Ladies and gentlemen of the African Jazz Village at the Ghion Hotel in Addis, cheer if you think it is. Okay, so here's why it might not be. I'm not from here. I don't live here. I don't speak the language. Anyone want to change their mind? Here is how it all began, okay? At the time of the Emperor, Haile Selassie, 1960... no. 1967, my mother came from Addis Ababa to study in England. She was pregnant, because women do that, they get pregnant. I don't know how that happens, but really. The college sent her to a mother and baby home where she asked in England a social worker to find foster parents for a short period of time while she studied. The social worker, he saw this as having a poor child from Africa. A child who must be saved from the dark continent. The social worker gave me to foster parents and said, keep this poor child forever. At 12 years old, Mum and Dad, the foster parents, gave up the experiment. After 12 years, they said they would never speak to me again. They never did. It's not that I'd had the rug pulled from beneath me as much as the entire floor had been taken away. From 12 to 18, I was then held in 5 different children's homes in England. And then at 18, I was left to spend the rest of my life alone, period. As a legal obligation, they gave me my birth certificate. I began my search for home in that moment. That journey has led me tonight to Addis Ababa, the capital of Ethiopia, in East Central Africa. It is edged on the west by Sudan, the east by Somalia and Djibouti, the south by Kenya, and the northeast by Eritrea. But that's enough of Wikipedia. On the plane from London, a woman asked me, are you going home or coming back? The thing is, I was going back. I've discovered a boy who never came back, ever. He's the most famous boy in the history of Ethiopia. He was stolen from his home. When I say stolen, obviously I don't mean visitors came for coffee and pocketed him on the way out. His father was a king. He was abducted and transported from Ethiopia to the Isle of Wight. The Isle of Wight is not a derogatory term for England. It's a small island off the southern coast. What was his name? Here's how it happened. Both of his parents, the king and queen of Ethiopia, died as a result of the Battle of Magdala, led by Sir Robert Napier. The British looted the Ethiopian palace. The king of Ethiopia, Theodros, killed himself out of honour. Some say Prince Alemayehu was escorted with his mother, the queen, and some say with a teacher from the Ethiopian palace. Either way, the queen died. Either way, the final result was that the prince was abducted and alone. He was 7. Like Alemayehu, I was taken from my Ethiopian family, brought up in England, only I was born in England. But 18, when I was searching for my family, my friends and acquaintances from England could not comprehend this. The only reference they had was an Africa of loincloths, spears and lions and mud huts, films like Zulu and Roots. Of course, none of these were a view of Ethiopia, because Ethiopia was never colonized. Unlike Britain, it's all right, it was 1066. They don't really remember. There are many of us who were fostered, adopted, or orphaned who have returned to Ethiopia as home. I sat down with 2 remarkable women, Martha and Heron. They were both adopted in Europe and both have returned to Ethiopia to live. Did you experience a sense that you did not belong here, even though this is your home?
Yeah, so I think it starts with not being able to speak the language, because as an adoptee you usually don't grow up speaking the language of your home country, so that's already the first thing. Like, people talk to you assuming you speak Amharic, and then you don't. Most of the time when you explain you're adopted, people are like, oh, aizosh, it's gonna be okay, and then you're like, yeah, well,
No worries, yeah.
Heran, when did you feel at home here? Was there a moment that everything clicked?
I think I felt at home from the get-go, but I felt that I had to learn Amharic. I felt that was my main barrier. I would blend in by my looks, but still I'm not fluent at the language. So even the sense of home keeps growing the longer I stay here.
It's also cool to have several homes, maybe, because if you're in Netherlands, I mean, definitely it's my home because I grew up there and everything. But when I'm here, I also feel like it is home in a certain way. But both places, there's always this thing of like why you not necessarily belong there.
If you don't know how to drink coffee, know how to cook injera, does that make you less Ethiopian?
People remind you every day, like, this is, what it is to be like Ethiopian. Straighten your hair, drink 3 cups of coffee, do this, cook for your husband, go visit your family every single day, like all these things.
That's a big list of things to do, right?
Oh, and it's so much longer.
Here is a home truth. I am Ethiopian. I am also an Englishman. Yeah. I know, yeah. A lot less applause there, yeah. I saw you, you went, I'm a child of Addis who was born thousands of miles away and I can't speak the language. Even my name is in a different language to the place I was born, 4,000 miles away. They didn't call me Lem in Billinge, Lancashire. They called me Norman. Norman. It's not a direct translation of Lem. Norman was actually the name of the social worker who stole me from my mother. Lemn. In Amharic, it means why. And it is pronounced by Ethiopians and myself, Lemn. With a name like why, it doesn't help that the national dish here in Addis is called what? When I first met my sister in 1995, here in Addis, she said what, and I said why. She said why, and I said what. Food is the language of love and home. But there are some people who refuse to eat anything other than what they know. Is it an unwillingness to try difference, or a simple yearning and love for home? This brings me to my next poem. It's called I'll Do Anything for Food, but I won't eat that. I'll eat battered cod, refurbished peas. I'll eat the green mould in old cheese. I'll eat chicken parts boiled to soup. I'll eat plants, I'll eat their roots. I'll fry it, I'll boil it, I'll grill it and oil it. I'll broil it, parboil it, embroil it and foil it. I'll eat the skin, I'll eat the fat, but if there's one thing I won't eat, it's that. I can climb any mountain, I can face any foe. There's nowhere a man like me can't go. Show me a dark room and I'll walk in. Show me something edible, I'll stick my fork in. There's nothing I fear, no place I cannot go. But when it comes to that, no. My body is my temple, a powerful habitat. But there's one thing I won't eat. It's that. I actually went to my sister's last night. My sister was the first to introduce me to Ethiopian food, and she cooked for me the traditional dish of Ethiopia.
This is our chicken. For the dorowet, we have all the pieces here, okay? The pieces, it's like we soak it with lemon, and we put some salt, and we wash it like this, okay? You know, you just wash it till the water is pure, clean. And you smell it, there is no chicken smell or anything. You need a lot of onion. This is Ethiopian.
Wow, it's a very powerful smell of
yes,
the garlic
onion,
and ginger.
Yes.
And the onion, yeah.
Yes. And this is the ghee, spiced butter. We make it specially for dorowet and for Ethiopian cooking. We have the berbere. Okay, we always cook. Ethiopian food is cooked by, you see this dish?
Yes.
It's a pot made from clay.
So dorowet must be made in this kind of
yes,
this clay pot.
Clay pots.
Now this is the taste of Ethiopia.
Yes,
the bari
yes.
spices that you're adding to the onion, the garlic,
the ghee, and then the berbere. If you have a good berbere, this is the main thing. Everybody have their own recipes in every house. My mom have her own, and I know how she made it. So this is speciality from this house.
See, this is now the smell of Ethiopia to me. You know?
Yes.
When I first met you, you know,
Mm-hmm.
this is the smell that from the food that we had.
Yes, we had this. Yes. So, food is like, I mean, it's you. I mean, it represents you actually. It's a belongingness of where you come from, where you are, and who you are, I think.
Isn't home where your family is? Most people think of home, they think of their mum, and Alan Mayhew's mother, Empress Tirawak, was in England, kind of. Her clothes and various other family belongings were folded up and now reside on display in their new home, the British Museum. Museum? It's more of a Guantanamo Bay for the past. Prince Alemaihu was taken to India and then to the Isle of Wight, where at the behest of Queen Victoria, who had a penchant for little foreign princes. She had a few from India. They're just so cute. He was to be trained into all things English, to become an Englishman. He was sent to rugby school and the military academy at Sandhurst. The experiment didn't work. Reports of insolence and behavioural problems, maladjustment and unsuitability meant that Alemaihu was thrown out of Sandhurst. A baby boy whose parents are dead is transported to the other side of the world by the people who stole him from his parents, grows into adolescence and is then accused of not fitting in. I understand, because after 4 years in children's homes at 16 years of age, I just had enough. I went barefoot for a whole year, a barefoot black man in the wilds of the north of England. All anyone could say to me was, I bet you can't do that in the snow. In one children's home, I opened a window onto the roof and I poured 3 tins, little Airfix tins of paint onto the roof. They were the colours red, gold, and green. Gold from the stone, oil from the earth. I yearned for my home ever since my birth. Strength of a mother's whisper shall carry me until the land, the hand of my lost sister joins onto my will. Root to the earth, blood from the heart, could never from birth be broken apart. Food from the platter, water from the rain, the subject and the matter. I'm going home again. You can't sell a leaf to a tree, nor the wind to the atmosphere. I know where I'm meant to be. I can't be satisfied here. You can't give light to the moon, nor mist to the drifting clouds. I shall be leaving here soon, costumed, cultured, crowned. Sugar from the cane, coal from the wood, water from the rain, life from the blood, gold from the stone, oil from the earth. I yearned for my home ever since my birth. Food from the platter, water from the rain, the subject and the matter. I'm going home again. A man of peace is the social anthropologist Lula Pankhurst, son of Richard Pankhurst, son of Sylvia Pankhurst, the suffragette, and friend of Emperor Haile Selassie. Sylvia Pankhurst loved Ethiopia so much that she's buried here. She made this her home. Her son Richard loved it so much, he's lived here all his life. And his son, Alula, loved it so much, he too lives here. In this case, a white man lives in Addis and knows Ethiopia more than me. Where's home to him?
In Amharic, the language I first learnt, the word betaseb means people of the house. And that's the word for family, that's the word for home. So it's not the place, it's not the physical, the house can be tiny and whatnot, it's actually the people, it's the social relations, the communal aspect of living together, eating together, playing together. That's what defines, I think, for many people here, the notion of home.
You know, if you don't mind me saying, you look like an English academic, you know, you carry that air. Or maybe I'm projecting that onto you, actually.
Other people can project, as you say, but there's a lot of choice involved. The notion of home for us in this kind of globalized world where we have multiple identities is very complex. Now, for me, I grew up in Ethiopia, and in some senses. I'm very comfortable in UK. I like the English ways of punning, and I enjoy the sort of way that people interact, and I'm very fluent and comfortable in that. But at the same time, I feel perfectly at ease and comfortable and fluent here in Ethiopia too.
Okay, who's been abroad? Who's been abroad? Who's been abroad? And what did you miss about home?
Sun.
Did my mother come to the gig? Any more there?
Nothing.
I think that's the privilege of home, is that you can choose to not miss it. What did you miss about home?
My mother's brown rice.
Oh, your mother's brown rice. Beautiful. Not her mother. As Alemayehu became an adult, Queen Victoria stopped payments to Speedy for the fostering, and Alemayehu was sent from the Isle of Wight to Leeds to live with a doctor. Alemayehu, son of King Childros, died at 18 years of age. He died of pleurisy, a poor man's disease, with a doctor. He was then given his final home, buried at the crypt in Windsor. A brass plaque in the nave of St. George's Chapel bears the words, "I was a stranger, and ye took me in." But Alemayehu's body is buried in a brick vault outside the chapel, and that, Your Honour, is my evidence. The lie is written into the chapel wall on this very day. He was not a stranger. He was a prisoner of war. The war that in one way or another killed his mother and his father. And in 2007, the Prime Minister of Ethiopia asked, in the name of his father and his mother, for the remains of their son, the Ethiopian Prince Alemayehu, to be returned home. I can't understand why my present queen would not return a prince to his country when on his death, Queen Victoria herself wrote, "It is too sad, all alone in a strange country, without seeing a relative. So young, so good." We have just dug up King Richard III in England, and you've never heard such a fuss about where he should be buried. And that skeleton's 500 years old. This one is less than half that. So what is home? We navigate through life using people, places, language, art, food, memories and ideas of self as a point of reference, and at some indefinable point we make the decision that this must be it. This must be home. Our, each and every one, empire. But I actually have some news for you that arrived from me today. Today. I got an email from the government department that ran the children's homes I was in. They want to meet me. They want to say sorry. They want to give me all the documents they have relating to me. They are giving me my story back. That's all they can do. They can't make it not have happened. And they can't make me forget. They can say sorry. The British can't bring Alemayehu back to life, but they can bring him back home. But what makes this email that I received today doubly special, though, is that I got it today while I was here in Addis Ababa, in Ethiopia. I ask you again now, is this my home? Yes. Is it? Yes. Let there be peace. So frowns fly away like albatross, and skeletons foxtrot from cupboards. So war correspondents become travel show presenters, and magpies bring back lost property. Children, engagement rings, broken things. Let there be peace. so storms can go out to sea to be angry and return to me calm, so the broken can rise up and dance in the hospitals. Let the aged Ethiopian man in the grey block of London flats peer through his window and see Addis before him, so his thrilled outstretched arms become frames for his dreams. Let there be peace, and let tears evaporate to form clouds, cleanse themselves, and fall into reservoirs of drinking water, and let harsh memories burst into fireworks that melt in the dark pupils of a child's eyes and disappear like shoals of silver darting fish, and let the waves reach the shore with a I was taken from my home, stolen from it. Then I was told by the people in my home that I was not home. I was in children's homes that were not home. And when I found out I am Ethiopian, I come home and I am asked how Ethiopian I am. At the end of the day, you are home where you are accepted. No? You make home where you are accepted, and in making that home, you accept it. Home is not one place. The name Alem of Alemayehu, it means world.
የለምን ሲሳይ ወደ ሀገሩ መመለስ በለምን ሲሳይ ተገልጿል። ይህንን ፕሮዲስ ያደረገው ኤድሞርሽ ነው።